Hello, Young Americans for Liberty. I want to say thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you a little bit about letters to the editor and what that means to the community and how you can be real effective in getting your word out. I first want to let you know that millions of people still read newspapers, and letters to the editor do come in the printed edition, which most commonly is what is thought of first of all. But also more and more media organizations are posting letters to the editor on their websites. This is totally different from the comments section, which we all know is the sewer of the web. Letters to the editor have very strict guidelines and again are valuable to the community, and because of that the media organizations really want to work to have those letters uphold highest standards. The comments section, on the other hand, is more of a talk back, immediacy type of effort that anyone can have in the community. And of course we know that when it comes to talk back on Facebook, that standard is even lower. So the letters to the editor section is definitely not the same as what you will find in the comments section. Okay, so millions of people still reading the newspaper, and the letters to the editor section is typically found in the opinion and editorial section of a newspaper. And many people think that there's no room for opinion in news, and that's just not true. What most people don't understand is that the opinion and editorial section is where we allow the opportunity for not only the media organization to have an opinion and a voice and select people from that organization to have that opinion and voice, usually the editorial board, but also for those from the community. Many times media organizations will solicit or have an open policy for leaders in the community to be able to write commentary, to write their own opinion or editorial pieces, as opposed to just writing a letter to the editor. I have a background in newspaper, and when I was working as the managing editor for a couple of community newspapers in Virginia, we received commentary from local community leaders, probably several times a year, and we definitely received letters to the editor quite frequently throughout the week. Unfortunately, there's just not unlimited space to be able to run those, and you definitely don't want to run the ones that don't have something to say that is of value to the community. And unfortunately, many public relations firms or many people that work in PR will put together a form letter and will send it out to organizations and say, this is a great way that you can very simply and easily sort of mass spam a bunch of media organizations. And that is definitely something that you don't want to do. You want yours to be unique. And I'll talk to you in a couple of minutes about some ways to do that. Most media organizations will turn their nose up at those kind of form letters that don't really speak specifically to the community. And we can tell, we can smell those things from a mile away. So there is no slipping them by. We want something that is unique, that is heartfelt, that really epitomizes the essence of the community that we have for our media group. So the opinion and editorial section is where we have designated in print and online and mobile apps and on websites for letters to the editor. Now, let's talk a little bit about what your letter to the editor should look like. I think this is so great that you guys are holding this workshop. A media organization finds great value in hearing from its community, and they hear a lot of noise every day. People will approach you, people will see you at events, people will talk to you, everyone will have an opinion, but we truly do value those people that don't just have an opinion but are putting forth a thought or idea to help enhance and improve the life of the community in some way. So the mission of your letter is vital and important. I have two things that I want you to remember when you're putting together a letter to the editor. The first thing, before you begin writing, you should think, what is the purpose? What am I trying to say? And I spent some time browsing around different websites. Of course, I went to big daily national organizations, media groups like Washington Post and New York Times. And they, of course, have very strict standards on word count. They have requirements that they want to see for the letter to the editor. But guess what? So do local news organizations. In fact, I went to the News in Advance and looked at their website and saw what they have for their requirements. And it very much aligns with what the New York Times and what the Washington Post look for in their letters to the editor section. So before you begin writing, what's my message and what's the purpose? What am I trying to say? And if I had to say there's just one thing that you've got to remember about writing letters to the editor, it's this. Say what you're going to say in the most concise way possible. And for a lot of you, that's very difficult. I know, because I spend a lot of time with beginning media writers here on campus, business kids, journalism kids, digital media kids, Stratcom kids. And it is very difficult because you have been trained your whole life in very lengthy style of writing. Put forth a thesis statement and back it up with lots of credible evidence and in-text citations, and those things are vital and important. But for media, when you are writing to a large audience, you must be concise. You must say what you're going to say and use the fewest amount of words possible. And the best way to be able to do this is to know what is your message. What is my purpose? What am I trying to accomplish with this letter? And then do that in the most brief way that you possibly can. I saw word count requirements ranging from 175 words up to, I think the top end was about 250 words. That's not a lot. So you've got to be able to make your point and make it in a very concise way. What's my message? What's my purpose? The second thing that I like to leave with you are, what are the requirements? Did you look and see for the media group that you are sending this letter to the editor to, what their specific requirements are? Because I can tell you right now, that's one way that they weed out letters to the editor. I was browsing around on the New York Times website, and they have a great ombudsman who wrote a piece talking about letters to the editor. And he said he probably gets 1,000 or more letters to the editor every day. And do you know how many they run? They run 15 letters to the editor. And I guarantee you one of the first ways that he weeds out letters is to say, oh, this one's over 200 words, gone. This one, 500 words, gone. This one, 20 words, way too short. What kind of point can you make? He's looking for those pieces that are balanced. So look at word count. What are some of the other requirements that they might have for you? All media organizations have contact information requirements. They want to be able to call, talk to you, and be able to verify that you in fact did write this letter to the editor. You know what it would mean if someone wrote a letter, signed someone else's name, and you published that. That would be huge. That would be very bad. And so they need to be able to verify that you are who you say you are. And so most of them will ask you for contact information, not just an email address, but a phone number where you can be reached. They want letters that range anywhere from, like I said, 175 words, probably upwards of 250 words at the most. And they're also looking for letters that tie to topics maybe that they've covered. In fact, the Washington Post said, if you can tie your letter to a recent article that we've had, that is a huge plus for us. That's something we're looking at. Our local newspaper, the News in Advance, they said if your letter has to do with local issues, it will be given priority. And so they're looking for readers that don't just have something to say, but they have something to say of value to the community. They want you to be writing about issues that they're covering and usually that the community are talking about. So make your letter have value in that fashion. Know what are some of the topics that the media organization has been covering recently. So if your nonprofit is to help those that are homeless and are transitioning, into an apartment, before they get there, they have to have a place to live that's stable, find a job. well, then you want to look for issues in your community that have to do with homelessness. And when those things come about, you want to seize on that opportunity and contact the media organization through the internet, call an editor, call a reporter, get some quotes in the paper or on their website, and be able to really put together a solid piece as a letter to the editor that would add value on that topic. We're in election season. And locally here, we'll be having some elections in the next month or so for local positions, city council, city treasurer. And right now, the newspaper is very interested in hearing what do the supporters and non-supporters of those candidates have to say about the candidates. So they're really pushing for letters that tie to support or non-support of local candidates. So pay attention. You know, in marketing, you say, know your audience. Well, your audience is the media organization. Know what they're talking about. Know what the community's talking about. Seize on opportunities, days that celebrate, love. And maybe your organization has something to do with fostering love in the community between families and foster kids. Look for little ties that you can make to topics that really shed light on what your organization does or a point that you have to make. I love this. Our philosopher, our kid's philosopher, Dr. Seuss, penned this short poem talking about brevity. And I think, especially because I love writing in brief form and I value it so greatly, I think that it is definitely underestimated. People think you have to use more words to make a point, and that's just not the case. And I really want you to keep that in mind when you're thinking about writing a letter to the editor. So here is what Dr. Seuss had to say on this issue. It has often been said, there's so much to be read. You can never cram all those thoughts in your head. So the writer who breeds more words than he needs is making a chore for the reader who reads. That's why my belief is, the briefer the brief is, the greater the sigh of the reader's relief is. Dr. Seuss, can you go wrong with that? No. Write concisely, write simply, use language that everyone can understand, and tie it to a topic that is important to your community. If you do those things, chances are greatly going to increase that your letter to the editor will be published. Thank you, guys. I hope to hear back from you that you had submitted some letters to the editor over the summer on important topics and that you succeeded in being able to send a message out there and have it published. Hope you have a great day.